The final step of the PHIRES tool relates to developing an action plan to prevent similar incidents occurring in the future. The action plan should be developed based on the suggestions put forward by staff during the review and through further consultation with staff, HSRs, and the managers responsible for implementing the actions. This will ensure that you get the best outcomes from your reviews. The actions should address the key issues identified in your Axiomap. The Axiomap provides the evidence base for the actions. Lead to improvements in the implementation of your current risk control measures and, if required, the implementation of new control measures. Be feasible and practicable for implementation. When developing the actions, it is important to consider the systems thinking principles. Shared responsibility for safety. People across the system need to take steps to prioritise worker safety in their decision making. Multiple interacting factors. Effective actions address multiple factors at all levels of the system, including leaders, management, supervision, equipment, and the work environment, not just the behaviour of staff. Consultation. Effective actions focus on improving the flow of information up and down the levels of the system. This means that leaders, managers, and supervisors regularly talk to staff and health and safety representatives to understand what is happening in the work environment. This information then informs the development of policies and procedures, which are subsequently reflected in work practices. Pressures in the system. Effective actions involve reducing pressures on staff through work planning to ensure they can perform their work safely. This includes pressures on managers, supervisors, and frontline staff. Erosion of risk controls. Work systems need to have good processes in place for monitoring the implementation of risk controls over time. This might include examples such as monitoring the buffers built into work schedules to make sure that enough time is available to perform the work as it changes over time, or auditing the ongoing maintenance of equipment to ensure it is working as intended and that the maintenance schedule is appropriate. Once you've developed your actions, use the hierarchy of controls to identify controls that will eliminate or reduce the risks, so far as reasonably practicable, as required by the OHS Act. A review that results in more training, supervision or changes to procedures is not likely to prevent future injuries. The PHIRES tool prompts you to develop an action plan including 1. The specific action required. The action should be a specific action that will be implemented. It should not be framed in terms of considering whether to do something. If more research, a business case, or approvals are required, these should be provided as specific actions in their own right. 2. Person responsible for action. The leader or manager responsible for implementing the action needs to be clearly defined. The OHS team should not be responsible for implementing all actions. 3. Evaluation of success. You need to identify measures which will tell you whether the action has been implemented and successful in addressing the issue. Don't rely on incident reports. 4. Finally, a proposed close-off date for implementing the action needs to be identified. The PHIRES tool also allows you to include recommendations for parties external to your organisation, for example, equipment suppliers, regulators, or other government agencies. These should be framed as providing feedback or raising issues with external actors. The responsibility for communicating the information should be allocated to a specific person in your organisation. For example, the OHS team can provide feedback to equipment suppliers about design problems with equipment. They could also email WorkSafe Victoria to provide feedback on guidance. Your senior leaders can raise issues at relevant industry forums with government agencies. Although you do not have control over the external actors in the system, it is critical to identify and communicate opportunities for equipment suppliers, regulators, and government agencies to play a role in improving workplace safety. In doing this, there exists a better chance of creating systemic and sustainable improvements in workplace safety. This concludes the final step of the PHIRES tool.